Hi, welcome to session 4. In this session, we will be seeing about how to create a DSO and what is Infocube and what are the two different types of schema available in the business warehouse. So in the last class, we saw that how to create info objects for the data which we are going to load from the flat file, and how do we create the application component, data source, source system, everything, right? So you can go back and see what we did in session 3, part 1 and part 2. At this moment, we will go ahead and see. We'll move forward and see how the objects are created in the PW so that we can load our data from the data source into the DSO. Okay. So let's go to the log into the system right now. All right. Okay. So I already logged in, and then we are in the RSA1 screen. And as I said, there are 3 different types of DSO available. So we're going to see what are the 3 different types of DSO, and then how to create one of them, right? So that we can load the data. Okay. So I just want to know what are the objects which I have to include in the DSO. So I'm going to keep this screen, keep this instance live, and I'm going to open another instance. Okay. To open another instance, you have to give /o RSA1. Okay. So it's going to bring me another new instance. Okay. Okay, now you have 2 instances, okay, right? You've got 2 instances. Now, I'm going to create a DSO, right? So, to create DSO, first what we did is to create source system. We were in the source system place, right? Source system. Again, data source, info objects in the beginning, right? Now, info provider. So, these are all called info providers. DSO Infocube is called info provider in the sense it provides some information to you, right? So that's why it's called info provider. So I'm going to go back to the info provider and we'll be still looking for the same info area we created in the beginning for the beginning for the info objects, right? So I'm going to look for the same info area, right? So search for the info area, ZIA. To a such star, right? So let's see how it goes. Okay, somebody else had it. Okay, well, let's do. We can even go further by pressing the F4 screen, but I wanted to, because we know All right. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we clicked, to bring in the objects, right? We just created a DSO here. We just give the name and then properties. We saw all the properties, and now we have to bring in the info objects so that we can load the data, right? So all these objects need to be brought in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on info object catalog, and I see there is only 2 info object catalog available in the info area where we create our DSO, right? So now I want to first bring in the characteristics, right? I click on characteristics. So now it's bringing all the characteristics available in the info area, right? So there are the easiest way to add info objects into the DSO is like probably you might just have to drag and drop, okay? Drag and drag. Just drag and okay. So now we saw all the info object catalog available here, right? So I said there are several ways creating the or adding objects into the DSO, right? So I'm going to show you one of the method is to right click. Just dragging and dropping is fine, you can easily, but right click, info object, direct input. Okay. So now I want to see. So you should know what is a data field and key field. So let's try something, right? So I'm going to say I'm going to say this one, like Z E A G E1 and enter. So it brought in here, right? So, okay. So now next thing we'll do. Okay. Another one is same place. The data field. Right click. Info object direct input. Okay. Now I'm going to add one of the characteristics. Okay. What is the characteristics name we have? ZECT1, right? Okay, let's do that. ZECT1. Okay, it's taking, right? Okay, let's do this one. Okay, on the key field, give right click, info object, direct input. Okay. Do the same thing. Okay. Designation ZE designation 1, right? ZEDSIG1. Enter. Okay. It's taking this also here, right? Data field and key field. So what's the difference basically? Anybody can say, you can try to find out what's the difference between key field and the data field. Okay. I can even do this. Okay, take drag and drop here. Okay. Right. And so all these things we can do, it's like, but you should know what is a key field is. For example, now again, I'm going to add our data field one more time, right? Like let me add the salary also, ZE sal. Okay. ZESAL1, right? Enter. So this is the data field. Again, everything is a data field. Okay. Data field in the sense, whatever you're loading or most everything is a data field, but key field is basically you will have a unique key. For example, right? Take for example, let's do how many fields is it? 4 fields, right? So let's do gender again. Gender. Right click. Right. What's the name of this? Z gender 1. Okay. Z gender 1. Okay. Okay. Z gender 1, right? And then what are the, how many things? 1, 2, 3, 4. The designation variant, right? Gender employee. You will do a Z team also, okay? ZE team 1, right? Right click, ZE team 1, okay? Enter. So now we have everything, right? 1, 2, you got 6 plus 2, 7, right? Here, how many is there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 6 plus 2, 8 is there, right? Okay. We got the salary is there, salary, and then age. What else is missing? Designation we have. Gender. Designation is there. Name. Okay. So let's do the name here, right? What's the name of, what's the field of the name? ZE name 1. Okay. ZE name 1. I gave everything. Okay. So now, out of 8 info objects, we have created, we have added 7 info objects in the data field, okay, which is fine, right? Again, there is only one is the employee number. Can I add employee number here? Yes, I can add employee number here. Right click, info object, right? What is the field name? ZEMP1, okay? ZEMP number 1. Right, which came here. So in this moment, what happens is there is no key field for this DSO. For the faster performance and to make sure that there is no redundancy in the DSO, we have to have at least one key field. It's fine if we don't have also. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the employee number and then put it in the key field. So now employee number is the one which should be unique, right? Here always employee number should be unique, right? So we cannot have a same employee number for 2 person, right? So now I have the employee number, so it will always check for the uniqueness of the unique data record, right? If I say unique data record, click yes, then it will, for sure it will take, okay? You guys can try either way. Just try this with doing unique records, right? It says that check modeling type as write optimized, because if you say unique data records, it only write optimized can be unique data records. Okay, so I'm going to change this one. Okay, this key field is for what? Key field is for our performance, faster performance. Okay, okay. So now I created the DSO. So now I want to know whether everything is correct or not. Like, just let me check this one. Okay, click on the check button here. So it says that, okay, when you see green, then you are fine, right? So it says everything is fine, right? Okay, it's consistent. So now we can activate the data source object. Okay. Okay, so now it says that there's an yellow, like it says what is it giving, let's see and see, right? So now the object is activated. The case you see is active version, active, executable, but even then still it says something right here. You have to see. When you say yellow, it's a warning. Yeah, basically it's a warning. And what is? Let's see what it says. It says that creating export data source dependent object info object is this salary, right, as a fixed currency. Okay. So when we created an info object for Z salary, we gave it as a USD, right? So it says that you are given it as a fixed currency. and there is no translation possible, in the sense, if you want to change this currency into some other country type, then it's not possible. That's what it's telling. Okay, so that's actually a warning, because you should not ask, when you try to load data first time with the USD, and second time if you load into Canadian dollar or something else, it will not work for us, because it's the default we give it as a USD. Okay, that's what is giving us a warning. Okay, otherwise the DSO is fine. Okay, now see, I'm not going to load data right now. Let me teach about what is a star schema and what is an Infocube, and we create Infocube also. Then in the next class we will load data from the data source into the DSO and then to the Infocube. Okay, let's go to the so until DSO level everything is fine, right? Until DSO level, these are all two-dimensional. Okay, the two-dimensional, and it is very similar to the table only. DSO is very similar to the table only, but that is not what we require in the business warehouse. Business warehouse needs something called three-dimensional data, so that you can you can have a different perspective or view the data in a different perspective, right? In multiple perspective, whichever way we want it. Right. So for that, business warehouse brought in something called star schema. Okay, star schema, in the sense, the beginning SAP just started with a classical star schema. Okay, this would be a little bit difficult to understand right now, but eventually when you go further down, you will be able to find out. Okay, so I'm giving an example here, right? You can see this example. The star schema, what's the star schema? It's basically, star schema is a combination of a fact table and dimension table. Okay, so fact table and dimension table. Fact table means, you can see here, all the transaction data are available in the fact table, right? The customer ID, product ID, store ID, price, quantity, everything is available in the fact table. So the fact table is a transaction data, and this will change. Basically, this will change every now and then, right? At least these two will change every now and then, right? The store, the product, the price and the quantity, product ID, those things will change every now and then. So these are at least these two will change, right? Production, price and quantity will change, right? But when it comes to the customer ID, product ID, and store ID, that will not change every now and then. Okay, so what happens is, every unique key, probably this is the key field, you can say. Okay, so the key field will have further data, the detailed version of the data. For example, take for example customer ID C001, right? Okay, so C001 is basically a customer name, customer number, right? And then the customer name, and then the gender and the region. Okay, in the same way, product ID P001. Okay, P001 is a product name, ID name, and then it's probably you can say it's a product color is a black color, and then the price is 900 Lenovo. So the detailed version of the product ID will be available in the master data. Okay, and again the same way, store ID, right? Store ID, you can have store ID is S001. Store location is okay. The location probably you can say New Jersey. Okay, or Sydney. Okay, now New Jersey there will be more than one. Okay, manager zone is East Coast. Okay, Northeast. All right. So here, this is how SAP or the business warehouse works. Okay, so basically it has a fact table, and then fact table consists of the transaction data plus the unique ID of the master data, and then the detailed version of master data available in the dimension table. Okay, So this is a classical star schema in the sense. In the beginning, it was like this, right? So there is advantage and disadvantage of using the classical star schema. We will see in the next tab. Okay. So this is how the system works here. Like the business warehouse works here. For example, this is a simple star schema, right? When you go to the another star schema, you have here dimension. For example, the same fact table, correct? Same fact table has product quantity. Again, for the customer ID, product ID, and store ID, instead of having the exact value of the customer ID, it's using a dimension. It's using an index here. Basically, it's using an index. So, for example, the customer ID 2003 is basically a dimension. It's an index value. Okay. For this index, the surrogate ID will be there, and for the surrogate ID, the customer ID. So this way, what happens is, inside the business warehouse, we are not giving more load to the data. Okay, so it's basically all the dimension table are is very much outside the schema itself. Okay, so it's only in the schema, whatever you see is only this key figures only. Okay, in the fact table only you see this key figures only. All the master data field are stored outside the schema itself, right? So it is basically connected through a dimension ID, and dimension ID is connected to a surrogate ID, and the surrogate ID connected to a correct the value of the customer ID. So you might not see this one at all. It's basically a transparent for you. But the reason why we are learning is we need to know the logic of what is happening. Okay. So the fact table basically consists of the advanced version of fact table consists of a key figure and dimension ID. Okay, and then the key figure for every key figure, the dimension ID will have a surrogate ID, and then for surrogate ID there will be another reference to the customer ID or store ID or product ID. Okay, this is basically another version of a star schema. So this is just for the understanding only. Okay, just we don't have to really get too much boggled on it, but you can look through this screen and then try to understand what's going on, how it is being connected. But finally, eventually, you will not see this one in a transparent. It's a transparent. You won't be able to see in your business warehouse here. If you go and see here, you will not see anything. Okay. Okay. So now we saw about the star schema, right? The star schema is the original version or the earlier version of the business warehouse. But again, in the star schema, what happens is the fact table and the master data, the dimension table, all, even though you have, for example, here, right, dimension table is there, key figure is there, but these are all connected in for one particular transaction. Okay, so in the sense, what happens is, if you are creating an Infocube and you have the price and quantity, right? So for this price and quantity, only for this particular Infocube, the master data is connected. And what happens if, for example, if you want another Infocube with a different price and quantity, but same store, same data, same master data, customer ID, store ID, product ID, right? The same master data we need. Then what happens? You have to create one more Infocube and one more master data, everything. So it's basically it becomes a redundancy, right? Every time the transaction data changes, but the master data remains the same. So in the basic version of the SAP BW, they were creating Infocube, and for every Infocube there were multiple master data. So but that created a lot of hassle as well. The performance tuning was not good. So then what SAP did is SAP went to and did something called created something called extended start schema. In the extended start schema, what it will do is you will have the keys, the fact table and dim ID, and again this dim ID. These are the, except for this, everything else is basically a external start schema. Okay, so what is happening here is external start schema means the transaction table, transaction data is only available in the fact table, and the master data is lying really outside of the fact table itself. So what happens every time you create an Infocube, so that Infocube will be connected to the same master data. Instead of creating multiple times master data, it will be only connected to the same master data, but only transaction data will be changing for every Infocube. Okay. So here you need to know something called, for the external start schema is mostly used for the creating Infocubes only. Okay. And this is the most important thing we should know. In a start schema or in an Infocube, you can have maximum of 233 key figures. Okay, and maximum of 2, but nobody will have 233. Maybe there are scenario, but 233 would be will reduce your data retrieval in a high very slow. Like the data retrieval will be really slow when you're doing the 233 key figures in this same Infocube. Okay, and then a dimension. So this is the key figure, right? This is the key figure, right? So you can have 233. Okay, so dimension can be 16 dimension you can have like this, like 1, 2, 3, like in the way 16 dimension you can have in a Infocube. Okay, so out of 16 dimension, 13 is the customer defined. Okay, 13 is the user defined, and then 3 is the customer defined. So customer defined means SAP customer defined, right? So what happens here is the 3, the unit, time, and data package. Unit is the one which will say what type of unit you're going to load, and time characteristics is again what are the different times, like 0 physical period or 0 current month, all those things, right? And data package means details about the Infocube. Okay, that's the data package, so that you know what is the Infocube name and what are the properties and everything. All right. So external start schema means this dimension table will only have the transaction data, and the master data is lying outside the schema itself, so that the same master data can be used for multiple Infocubes. Okay, so that's the typical external start schema. Okay, external start schema is the one. Okay, so Infocube is basically consists of what? 2 different tables. One is a fact table, other one is a dimension table. So fact table has what? Fact table has the transaction data. Dimension table is basically as the ID, right? Dim IDs. The dim ID will eventually be connected to this table, right? The master data table, right? So that's basically it's a concept of an external start schema. Okay. So now, we will go ahead and create Infocube, right? Basically, then we will understand what is going on here. So for the same thing, right? In the same place, we already activated, right? So now I'm going to create a Infocube. Right click, create Infocube. Okay, it shows that. Okay, ZIC SDY. Okay, Infocube for Study Nest Training. Okay, object type is a Infocube. All right, it's a standard Infocube. Okay, and click on OK here. It will take you to the properties of the Infocube. Okay, now let's see the properties here. Object version is a new version, not saved. Object status is inactive, right? Right now it's inactive. And then the settings. Settings, it says that Infocube table is a standard Infocube only. Okay, and then BWA is actually a accelerator to increase the performance of the Infocube. That is something called BWA, Business Warehouse Accelerator. Okay, that's called. So there is no BWA index. Okay, and now I said here we can have in an Infocube we can have 16 dimension, right? Out of that, 13 is the user defined, 3 is the customer defined. So if you can see, you can go here in the Infocube, you will see 3 things: data package, right? It's about the data. Okay, what is the request and what is the change and everything, record type, time. Okay, unit. This will automatically filled up whenever we have a unit or a time, or we can add. Okay, so dimension 1, it will be default. It will be have a dimension 1. So 3 dimensions are predefined, and then we can create another 13 dimensions. Okay, so I'm going to create a use the same dimension. Okay, I'm going to just use the same dimension. Just rename the dimension right now. All right, go to the properties. Right click, go to properties, and then we'll say redim sdy. Okay, and then click on OK. Okay, so now we have the dimension here, right? Let's see here. So in the DSO, we saw something called key, field, and data. Here, what it is dimension and the key figures, correct? Okay. Right click, info object, direct input. Okay, because we already have something, we can just say type to the press the tab button. It will bring you whatever the one which already we have. So let's have this salary as a salary, and then again let's do one more time, right? You can also add multiple info objects at the same time. Okay, salary and age. Now I just click OK. It's bringing the key figures here. So now I'm going to do something here. Same thing. Right click, info object, direct input. Okay. Again, let's do the same thing. Okay. Just press the tab button. Salary. Click on it. It says not all info objects transfer successfully, because this is a key figure, right? Key figure, right? So that will not be going to the dimension at all. Dimensions does not have the key figures. Can you see from here? See these are the key figures, but dimension is basically the representation of the key figure. So that will not. So you cannot have in the dimension field the key figures. Okay, so it will never allow you to put the data, even key figures in the dimension. So now I'm going to add info object, direct input. Okay, let's do one by one, right? Employee number, employee name, employee team. Okay, gender, designation, city. Okay, how many? 6, right? 6. Okay. Okay. So these are not filled up, right? So whenever we have a time characteristics, it will be going to this dimension, and unit characteristics in a sense. In DSO, it was giving a warning, right? It was saying that okay, there is a warning that the salary, whatever we have created the info object, is a fixed currency, USD. If in case we have given it as a 0 currency, then the 0 currency object will be loaded in the unit field. Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to check it again. Let's check that what's going on. It says everything is fine, right? And okay, so now we have successfully created a Infocube and a DSO, and we have seen what is the star schema. Star schema is a properties of a Infocube. Okay, star schema consists of a fact table. Fact table is a combination of dim ID and a key figure, and dimension table. Dimension table is basically a, it's a master data, right? So we will see in the next class like what are the different properties available in the in Infocube and DSO, and we will load data into DSO and Infocube from the data source what we have done. Okay, so right now I will wrap up the session, and then we can see the next session with all the other information. Okay, thank you.